to low to negative expectations. I was fully expecting to do a full-on rant and rave and just bash the hell out of this movie to no end. But what's going on, my Epictastic community? Welcome back to the channel if you're a returning member. If you're at 84.4 who are new here, welcome. This is Epictastic Joshua. I talk movies, TV, music, and on few occasions, anime. My name is Epictastic Joshua, or Joshua Drake, and this is going to be my thoughts on the latest Transformers movie, Transformers 1. This serves as a prequel to the Transformers movies. This is the 9th movie in the Transformers franchise, and this is the first theatrical animated film since Transformers the movie. This is directed by Cooley, written by Eric Pearson, Andrew Barr, and Gabriel Ferrari. This stars Chris Hemsworth, Brian Tyree Henry, Scarlett Johansson, Keegan-Michael Key, Steve Buscemi, Lawrence Fishburne, and John Hamm. The premise of this movie is essentially we define out the origins and early relationship of Optimus Prime and Megatron, and how they got into a little bit of a scuffle with each other, and they changed the fate of Cybertron, which is the home planet of the Transformers. When it comes to the Transformers series, they're not amazing movies, but I actually enjoyed the Transformers movie franchise. As you can see, I have 2 copies of the second movie, which this was bought from my mom, and this one was given to me by a friend, which is the 2 disc. I have a DVD copy of Age of Extinction back when I first saw it and initially liked it. And as far as the Transformers movies here, I love the first movie, obviously. Bumblebee I thought was amazing as well, even though I loved the first movie despite its issues. And I also really liked last year's Rise of the Beast. When it comes to the sequels, Revenge of the Fallen, which I have 3 different times, it's not a great movie, but I've always had some guilty pleasure fun with it. Dark of the Moon is a major improvement on it. And Age of Extinction, I liked it 10 years ago, and 10 years later, I do not like that movie as much. But nothing compares to Transformers The Last Night, which was the absolute bottom of the barrel. So, when it comes to this up and down franchise for me, I was pretty interested to see where they were going to go with an animated movie, because I thought there was interesting ideas you could do with an animated film. And also, I thought that just the idea of the origin actually really interests me. You had the director of Toy Story 4, which admittedly a lot of people don't like, but I do. Coming in and directing, you had a good cast here, but the minute I started seeing marketing for it and I saw the way these characters looked, and when I saw the animation design and heard some of the humor, especially a certain line with Bumblebee, that I want my name to be a certain different name, I immediately just rolled my eyes, and also said, this is gonna be a terrible animated film. In 2024 animation, I have not seen a whole lot of the animated movies coming out. I have seen some like Inside Out 2 and Despicable Me 4, which was not great. The Crisis trilogy, maybe a few other ones. Inside Out 2 is still the GOAT. But I went into this with very tempered to low to negative expectations. I was fully expecting to do a full-on rant and rave and just bash the hell out of this movie to no end. But having seen the movie, and I saw some largely positive reviews, is it my favorite Transformers movie? No. I still think Bumblebee is better, and I still think the first movie is better. But I can say this is somewhere right in the middle with there. And I can say I mostly enjoyed the movie. I definitely got what I wanted to see, which was an origin, but I did have a couple of issues when it comes to the movie. But going into the things I like in there, first off, I will say the animation style is beautiful here. This is a $75 to $147 million budget, and despite a little bit of issue with that, which we'll go into my negatives, I'll say for the most part, the world of Cybertron and the animation style looks great. I definitely do think it really looks very interesting, and I like the way they go about it, and I think it's fantastic how much they can do with what is pulled off. And to top that off, you can tell that the animators, despite my issues and the negatives, they put a lot of effort into it. You could tell they wanted to put a lot of effort into it, and they did try 100% to make it great. And I definitely really do admire that part of it, and I really do like that. I also really like a lot of what we get in terms of a story here. First off, seeing this origin, when you get to see Optimus Prime and Megatron as Orion Pax or D16 or Elita 1 or B127, I think all of that was very interesting. The fact that we're getting to see this actually play out, and I really liked the way it came about it. I liked it. I definitely liked this origin story. I was very much enthralled. I was very much interested in what we were getting there, and it really did do its job for an animated Transformers movie. I also really say this has some of my favorite action set pieces into it. The Cybertron action. I love a lot of Transformers action that you get.
Are you fucking kidding
I've
me?
seen a lot of different action in the other Transformers movies, especially the first three with Michael Bay. And even, I don't like those movies as much. Age of Distinction and The Last Night, there is some action in those movies that did keep me awake despite my issues with them. But I really liked what we were getting in terms of the action. Is on Cybertron, there's not a lot of human characters, which I thought was actually pretty refreshing for a change. Even though I don't mind human characters in movies like this or Godzilla or such, sometimes it's nice to take a little detour every once in a while. So I definitely really like that part of it. But the action here and the fact that we're focusing on the robots before they got to Earth, and this whole war between Autobots and Decepticons got started, and everyone started choosing sides. It's nice to see in time where they were all buddy-buddy and best friends and stuff. I am a sucker for origin stories. I like seeing how the backstory comes and how a rivalry got to be like the Underworld movies or anything like that. So I definitely quite enjoyed what you get in there. Another one of my positives is the voice cast, which I was very interested to see how this was going to be. Just like with the Super Mario Brothers movie last year, I definitely quite enjoyed a lot of the voice cast here. Chris Hemsworth as Optimus Prime. He does a good job as Optimus Prime. He's not nearly as good as Peter Cullen, who is a legend, but considering the shoes that he has to fill for an animated film, he could have been a hell of a lot worse. But I think he does try to make it his own, and despite some issues I have with the writing of the character, I actually didn't mind him. I like Brian Tyree Henry as Megatron. I like him. They have a nice little back and forth when they're picking on each other, and you could tell at one point they genuinely were friends before the whole shit hits the fan. Scarlett Johansson as Alita. It did take me a while to get used to her as the RC twin. It did take me a while to get into her voice, even though this is not the first time she's done voice acting. But once I got into her voice acting for the character, she did a really good job, as always. Keegan-Michael Key, coming off of Super Mario Brothers as Toad, which he was very fun in that movie as Toad. Here, there's moments here as Bumblebee, he is good, but then there's also moments where it was getting a little bit annoying at how much he was kind of getting on my nerves a little bit, but it never got to a point where I was just groaning or screaming and yelling. You also have Steve Buscemi as Starscream, Lawrence Fishburne as Alfred Tryon, John Hamm as Sentinel Prime, and I think all the voice acting in this is really good here. There's some heart here. It's not like this is a heartless made project. You can tell there is some heart here. You can tell they did try and put some commitment into it. And that's the thing I will give to them, especially for an origin story. Even if the movie is good or bad, which whatever movie I watch, I will give credit where credit is due, unless I do see that they didn't really push themselves hard enough. But I will say, they did commit to what we were getting here, and I definitely like the fact they did commit. The editing here is very short. It's an hour and 44 minutes. Definitely gets you straight in and out. I laughed a couple of times as well, I'll admit that. And I like the score by Brian Tyler. I like the score. Brian Tyler is a great composer, one of my favorite film composers, and he does a really good job here. So I definitely do like the score. And that is why I will give the credit to where credit is due. And you can tell Industrial Light and Magic put their heart into it. So I definitely did like the design of the Transformers. I can tell they were heavily influenced by the animated TV series, but they also do make it a little bit of their own. But again, I will get back into some of my issues when it comes to this, because this is not a scot-free film, but I will give credit to where credit is due for that. In terms of my criticism with this movie, like I said, the biggest two things that does hold this back. This is a mixed thing, so it's kind of on the mixed thing that is escaping this. While I like some of the animation work, and it did look good in the final product, there are still moments in some of the animation, mainly with some of the designs, where it still was a bit distracting, and it did kind of take me out of the movie at a few parts. Now again, I'm not going to hate on the animation too much, since this is an animated kids movie, which I'm sick and tired of people trying to use that excuse. Just because you're a kids movie, that doesn't mean you can't try. You can try harder sometimes, especially with great examples of how to do it and how not to do it, to have a balance for kids and for adults. I will go back into the animation. I do feel like there are moments where I was a little distracted by some of the animation. It felt like a little blocky to me, and I'm not sure what it is. Maybe it's because I probably just overanalyze the animation style so much, or it's just the way they look needed a little bit more fixer up. When you look at the 2007 movie, or even some of the live action films, you can tell that they are the characters. Not to say that these are not the Transformers, they definitely are. It's just some moments of animation that really kind of did take me out. My biggest issue with this movie is with the thing I was very afraid of when it comes to the movie when I first saw the trailers. I laughed a couple of times, but again, some of this comedy was kind of having me make very weird faces, especially cringing faces. There was one line that Bumblebee said, "Would you saw it in the trailer?" And I'm just like, really? You could have did that a little bit better. There were times where I was basically sitting there not laughing a lot with some of these jokes. Now, I did laugh. I got the heartbeat. I did laugh. I had myself a good time. But there was a lot of moments in this comedy that I'm just sitting there like, this needed another rewrite or two. I understand this is a kids movie. But, again, we had Inside Out 2 this year so far. In the summer, one of the biggest money makers of the year, has some good comedy, and it was actually done very well. Just some of that comedy I felt could have been so much better. But at the end of the day, Transformers 1, I got a lot of what I expected out of this. Is it the masterpiece Transformers movie that everyone is saying it is? Hell no. Not to me. I think this is genuinely slight overrated a little bit. But I will say, this, considering the fact that it's taken us a little while to get another animated film, and for many people since the 80s, I wasn't born in the 80s, and considering the fact that I went into this with very tempered expectations, it's a miracle that this movie actually turned out a lot better than what it actually was. I'm very happy I gave this movie a chance. I like some of the animation. I like the voice acting. I like the origin story. And despite the movie this current weekend right now at the box office, I do want to see where this goes for a potential trilogy. Of course, it's going up against Beetlejuice 2 and The Substance and Never Let Go and other movies. But I will say, if you were someone who was nervous about this from the trailers, definitely give this movie a chance. And I think you'll actually really like it. But if you are someone who hated the trailers and just did not like the animation and just really just said this looked pretty rough, this is, I would say, just steer clear and go watch the other Transformers movies. But the best thing I can do is to tell you guys to give this a fair chance. Whether you like it or hate it or you're in the middle, I think you'll actually find some decent things in here. It's not my favorite Transformers movie, but I definitely quite enjoyed it.
Well, that's going to do it for the video that you just watched. If you want to see more, my channel icon is up here. If you want to see more content from me, all my social medias are right here in this end card. I will also leave a playlist and a video here for you to see what the channel is about. As always, acknowledge me, stay Epictastic, join the Epictasticness, and you guys keep it cool.